Thank you for coming this evening, and I'm thrilled to have Mandodari with us. And I think you can talk about your Vastu journey, and we have a lot of exciting info tonight. So
Okay, all right.
thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm sorry that for this inconvenience with technical stuff, because my computer would not recognize the projector, so that's why we were delayed. But anyway, so after this little introduction, just basically wanted to say that my name is Olga Sokolova. Originally, I'm from St. Petersburg, Russia, but I live in US for last 33 years, so I'm more American than Russian. And so I went to India in 2005 to study ancient architecture. And my guru was Dr. Ganapati Stapati from Chennai. He was well-known traditional architect. It means he built temples, and he built also houses and residential and commercial buildings. So I went for 12 years. I would be traveling to India and take classes from him and bring people till he passed away in 2011. So I would like to start my PowerPoint presentation because it's easy, I think, to connect to the information when we have slides. So I'm going to minimize our view. And so you can see my screen, right? Okay, let's, so I call this lecture Human Frequency.
Don't forget.
Of course, I'm so sorry. I just focused on all this. Yes, so thank you so much for being here as well. So what is here? Basically, this lecture, I modified it a little bit before we started because the recent fires in California, and I thought it was disaster, of course, for California, for Los Angeles. But at the same time, I have this opportunity to introduce to people another way of construction and design and building according to the ancient teachings. And what's the difference between the ancient way of design and building houses, palaces, temples, to compare to what we do now? There is actually a big difference in the approach. So let me just start my PowerPoint. Okay, so how do we navigate?
You just have to use the arrows.
I did, and it's not doing anything. Somehow I don't think we're in the... Oh, it's not doing this. Oh,
Keep
so
the
this
arrow
arrows.
off. Yeah, keep the arrow off.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Just this is a traditional aphorism from a documentary which was about Dr. Ganapati Stapati, my teacher, and I thought it would be nice if I will basically kind of borrow this aphorism for our lecture because it's very beautiful, and it says, "In space through architecture, in form through sculpture, in body through dance, in words through poetry, in sound through music, in thought through mathematics. When man discovers order and rhythm, he touches the divine within himself." So as we see, we have mathematics here. And of course, it will be a question, what to do with mathematics here, and how do we touch the divine inside of us and outside through math. So these ancient teachings, they view basically space as consciousness, and it has its own structure. So as you see, I have Ganesha here because the Ganesha, we should chant Ganesha mantra first, and then everything would fly. So I usually start my lectures with Ganesha. So Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha, Jai Ganesha Pahimam, Shri Ganesha, Shri Ganesha, Shri Ganesha Rakshamam. Just help us, please, to move swiftly and without any problems through this presentation. And of course, we have Saraswati, the goddess of education. I also ask her to help us tonight. So after these technical things, we should go without any problems. Okay, so I mentioned about this ancient designs. And as you see, this is Tiruvalluvar monument. It's a huge statue, 41 meter high, and so designed by my teacher, Dr. Ganapati Stapati. It was built before tsunami, and they spent many years actually building it, and only scaffolding took 3 years to build, because they used only the ancient way how they would do it. They used wood and special rope to build scaffolding, and excavated stone was carved on the mainland and brought here. And so this is a big rock in South Indian, it's called Kanyakumari. It's a very southern point of India, and they have 2 big rocks in the ocean. And so one rock was flat, was nothing on it. And the government of India decided to give a project to some architect in India who would be able to build this monument to ancient poet and philosopher. His name was Tiruvalluvar. So Tiruvalluvar was a poet, and so his Tirukural, that was the most famous poem he wrote, and he was a living being. He was not some fairy tale person or some legendary somebody who, anyway, so he was a real person. And this scripture was translated into many languages, and the key part was to connect, as Ganapati Stapati explained, the scripture to the monument. So the idea when we build houses according to this design, it's not just a beautiful architectural structure. That structure is considered to be alive, and it would connect to the person or people who are going to live in the structure. And then it would connect to the earth energetically, and I will explain how, and to the cosmos. So the idea of this construction is the meaning should be embedded in the design itself. So the purpose of the design should be, of course, reflected in the design itself, which is understandable, but energetically, it should be connected to people and to the place. And energetically means we will calculate the frequency of vibration of people and the house, and precisely space of the house, to the cosmos. So everything is vibrating. So we have to bring into resonance structure, people who are going to be in that structure with their own energies, and to connect to the absolute vibration of the cosmos. So the absolute vibration of the cosmos is considered as universal consciousness. So space, even vacuum, as our scientists would say, according to these teachings, is not empty. And if we look at the modern science, we will see that only 2% of matter was calculated as visible, and 98% scientists don't know where it is. The mass of the universe is not found. So these teachings say that the mass is actually is in the invisible structure of space. And so about this monument, so basically the key part of this monument was to build according to the ancient teachings, meaning the rules of the design will be implemented in this statue. So the statue has a hole through the entire body of it. So it's kind of like a open to the sky through the head of the monument, and the staircase was kind of going around this open space in the statue, and that's called a shaft of light or energy. So my teacher told me, madam, because I went to India in 2005, about 8 days after tsunami. So first I was rejected to go because I canceled the class. Then First it was not canceled, then it was canceled, but I was like flying in 3 hours when I received that email. So I flew at my own risk. And they accepted me. They said, okay, if you were not scared of tsunami, you came, we're going to teach you. So Ganapati Stapati was, he was very generous. So this is a photograph of tsunami wave, which really, it's like a building, like a 10-story building, yeah? So it just completely overlapped the statue, but it did not collapse. So when the wave went through that island, which is about 15 minutes by boat from the main shore, mainland, so the wave went through and destroyed everything on the land, mainland. But the monument withstood the tsunami wave. So after that, the Indian government, or precisely the main engineer who was kind of overviewing construction, structural engineer from government side, he would not approve this monument because it was built without reinforcement, steel reinforcement. It was rock on rock, as Ganapati Stapati would say, according to the ancient teachings. And it was interlocking system of stone on the stone, according to exactly like in ancient times they would build. So there is no metal reinforcement, nothing like that. It's just exactly how they would build in the past, in the remote past. And by the way, these teachings, Vaastu Shastra, they're 15,650 years old. 16,650. That is really old. We know about feng shui, it's about 5,000 years old. Approximately, this is more, 3 times older. So it's a really very ancient knowledge, which is coming from Vedic knowledge, and based on the concept of the universe as its energy, and everything is vibrating. So the key part was to connect to the universal vibration and to the earth vibration as well. And there are mathematic formulas I used for that. That's why mathematics here are very important. So the monument withstood because it has open space, and it's called Brahma Stan. Brahma, creator, Stan, place of creation. So it's kind of like a spine, invisible spine inside of this monument, open to sky, to the cosmic energy. For some people, it may sound like a fairy tale, but I studied for 20 years the subject. I basically went through a lot of scientific literature, and I was trying to connect the ancient teachings with modern science. And there is actually a lot correlation if we will dig into physics, but we're not going to do it right now. So the monument withstood, and it was certified by the engineer from the government side. And Dr. Stapati received Padma Bhushan. It's like a highest recognition title in India for architecture, art. And so he was very proud of it. That he said, Madam, tsunami certified my monument. And then the engineer certified it, okay? So that is like without tsunami, that's how it looks like. From the main shore, as you see, that's a huge monument. And then Vivekananda Memorial a little bit further, also on the rock. So that is kind of the story about this monument, and about how tsunami tested the ancient theory of design and construction, and it withstood the tsunami. So, and this is Ganapati Stapati. This is my teacher. He was born in 1927. He was Tamil. It's South India, or Dravidian. Passed in 2011. So that is my old picture. I do Vastu design, construction. I call it healing designs because most people don't know these terms, Vastu Shastra. So Vastu is energy, pure energy in Sanskrit, and Shastra, teachings. So basically it's teachings about energy and how to build with knowledge of energy, how to build houses for people, how to build temples, residential or commercial buildings. So all that is described, believe it or not, in ancient palm leaves. And Ganapati Stapati had suitcases with old palm leaves where there would be drawings, even in description, how to build. And nowadays, these palm leaves are actually printed in the books. And in New Delhi, there's a huge library which contains an enormous corpus of this literature, and it's called Vaastu Shastra, specifically construction. Or more narrow term is Stapatya Veda. So Stapati is actually architect in Sanskrit, a direct translation. So his name was last name Stapati, architect, because he belonged to the Guild of Architects, and because in India it's very traditional. So from generation to generation, they would teach their children, son to son. So he was 11th generation of architects, traditional architects, meaning they would build temples. And temples are even more sophisticated structures of energy. And so that is a different topic. One day I would like to share with you, because it's fascinating how they would connect temple space with specific energy of a specific deity. Nowadays, people, I think, call deities as aliens. So you can connect to different energies of the cosmos and the life which exists there. Yeah, I studied in Russia, in St. Petersburg. I have master's degree in civil engineering, and in US, I went to design school. So I have an interior design degree, and I do architectural consulting as well. So this is the horrific destruction, as you know better than me, what happened here in Los Angeles. And there is so much now to rebuild. And I thought this is a great opportunity for me to introduce these ancient teachings, how with this ancient theory of design, we could rebuild Los Angeles, the most beautiful areas destroyed by fire, with the knowledge. Because that knowledge, that energy which will be embedded in the buildings, each building has its own energy. But if the building is not properly designed according to the energy of the planet, according to cardinal directions, according to the energy of the earth, which is calculated by formulas. There are 6 formulas for building residential, 16 formulas for temples. So we connect energies of people to the building, to the planet, and her energy, and to the cosmos. So all these formulas exist for thousands of years, tables of numbers, they called Ayadi numbers. So Aya is actually, Ayadi means searching for the source. So there are calculations, we do energy calculations. It's called Ayadi calculations or vibrational matching. So let's say I'm designing a house for somebody who lost a house in the fire, right? They have nothing. So what we would ask time, place, and day of birth of the person. And based on this data, we would find vibration of the person, like inner vibration, frequency of vibration. And so based on that frequency, we would find frequency of vibration of the space, which will be encapsulating energy in the building, meaning we will know exactly the perimeter of the building and height of the building and rooms. So it's kind of capsules of energy, precisely calculated, up to 1/8, sometimes up to 1/16 of an inch. But they did not use a measurement system as we use now, metric system or inches and feet. They did not use that. So we will talk today about the sacred dimensions which were used in ancient construction, and how this dimension is connected to the actual cosmos. And I will prove to you with formulas that there is a connection. So this is really science. It's not just some beautiful story about how to build, how to connect, because a lot of people say, let's connect to the earth, and they do earth houses and digging into the ground and creating like green roofs with trees. But according to Vaastu Shastra, that is not the way how to design a connection with earth and to the cosmos. because the earth should be a earth, and the roof should be connected to the cosmos, not to the tree which is planted on the roof of the house, which is actually is disturbance for the energy. So everything has to be where it's supposed to be. So we don't put trees on the roofs because roof is considered as head of the house, and it points to the cosmos, to the space, to the sky. So we need to connect to the divine. So we don't do upside down, so trees on the head. Yeah. So there is it's very interesting theory with it's a lot of logic in there. So this is example of the house I designed. I have a group of designers working with me. So this is a client in Uzbekistan. And so we recently finished this design, and it's a modern actually building. Doesn't look anything spooky, right? It's just a house, and but it's built. I mean, it's designed according to this ancient teachings, exactly calculated to the energy of the owner of the house. And so precisely, so they're building it now. So it's not only 3D picture, but it's actually construction started. And according to these teachings, we don't start construction whenever it's convenient for somebody, or we have general contractor coming with the excavator because he is scheduled for this day, otherwise he's busy. So it doesn't work like this. So how it works, we respect the earth as a live being. We know that there are movements in the energy of the planet itself, because the planet is considered as alive and it has its own soul, and that soul is called Purusha, or universal soul, also has name Purusha. So Purusha is this living energy, and it's dormant sometime during the year, and sometimes it's awakened and it's moving. So 8 times a year it starts moving. And so when it moves, we can calculate. That's called muhurta, or a very sacred time when to start construction. So if we start construction along with the movement of the inner energy of soul, or soul of the planet, then we're in the flow of energy. So everything's supposed to flow easily, construction itself as well. So we calculate that. And this woman who is building this house for herself, for her family, she followed all the instructions. And it was amazing what she described. But let me show you the construction site, so that, you know, they started already. And I have this little video. Hopefully it will play. I'm not sure if it will play. Yeah, let's try. See, yeah, so this is the walls. So they already foundation is finished, and they started the first floor. So it's a pretty deep basement, because it's very narrow kind of plot. So we did as much as we could with that piece of land in order to fit the house according to the requirements of the owner. So that is in construction, it's happening. So now what we will do, yeah, I have to move, yeah, okay, all right. So I need to introduce the theory, because otherwise for you, I don't think, so I would like to touch your hearts with that, because it is alive. And a couple years ago, I stumbled while I was traveling to a museum of Walter and Lau Russell. And most people don't know about this couple. And she was British and he was American. He was an American visionary. And so he would go into trance from his 7 years old, when he had basically NDE, and he was born in 1890 something 7, I think. So during those times, people had no concept near-death experience, but what he described, it fits exactly that pattern. So he was sick as a kid, and he basically died, and was 2 doctors pronounced him dead, and he came back after some time, and his parents were like, oh, incredible miracle. And so he was telling his parents he saw God, and God is light, and God was talking to him. But this story today is not about him. I just wanted to basically quote him because I was very touched by his book, and I'm planning to go through this classes they have, because it's really resonates with the postulates of Vaastu Shastra. And I thought it's incredible that this man lived last century, and he was talking about things about the structure of the space, and it's exactly like in Vaastu Shastra. So to me, it was additional proof that his vision given to him, as he said, as a Christ consciousness, same information practically as in ancient teachings of India. So that was fascinating to me. So he said that he who is able to become a higher being each moment of his life is among the transcendent ones who are ever nearing the portals of the light, which all men are forever seeking. The glory of becoming a transcendent being is the only reason for living. Without such a goal, life would have little meaning. Knowledge is the only power which any man has in order to make himself superior to himself each succeeding day of his life. The great question, what knowledge and where to find it? And I would say, come to Sivananda Yoga Center, you will study Vedanta, and you will understand that. So when he was 49 years old, he went in the trance for a month, and he was in the forest, and he basically channeled a book about structure of universe and how everything works. I have his books, and it's fascinating. So as I said, it really correlates to the Stapatya Veda Vaastu Shastra teachings. So according to the ancient scriptures and Vedanta and Vaastu Shastra as well, so human being is not only a body, but also this embedded energy. So the energy is the source for the body. So energy vibrates with specific frequency and builds the body, physical body. So only based on the inner frequency of vibration, they call it Jivatma, the body gets built based on the energy particles which our source of energy emits. So emission of energy is this vibration. So when the baby is in the mother's womb, it basically the frequency of vibration is in eights. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And it pauses for a moment, which is equivalent to a blink of a human eye. That is in Surya Siddhanta. It's a very ancient scripture on astrology and astronomy. And it's actually Surya Siddhanta. It's for Mayan. Mayan is the main source of information. Brahma Rishi Mayan was considered the person who brought this knowledge on the planet Earth, how to build houses, temples which connect to the energy of the cosmos and to the earth. So Surya Siddhanta belongs to him, and a lot of people who practice Jyotisha and astrology, they know that scripture. So in Surya Siddhanta, there is a description that we actually vibrate. So the energy vibrate with specific frequency, and that frequency, so in this moment between these eights, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, then blink of an eye, and it goes again. So the blink of an eye is equivalent to these 8 frequencies. When we blink and we open our eyes, then we blink again. So between the blinks, the energy which was emitted from the source, actually like a building blocks, is used to produce matter. So we vibrate, we build our body. When the body is built to their basically final design before their body gets born. So we are born at a specific moment of time, and again, making injections to speed up the birth is very wrong, because we mess up our karmic appearance on the planet. So we force our bodies to appear outside of the mother energy at the wrong moments. So it's very important to deliver at the timing, specific timing when it's supposed to happen, to the divine plan, not what the doctors told us, yeah, or whatever. Of course, if there is some situation and the woman cannot deliver and something critical, yes, but usually it's best to deliver naturally at the natural time which is supposed to happen, because it's what happens at the moment of the birth. We get charged with a specific frequency of vibration coming from cosmos and hitting basically baby, the energy of the baby with that vibration. That's called nakshatra. And so then we have our specific frequency, which is slightly shifted at the moment of the birth with this cosmic frequency. And we, from angelic kind of baby, become just an ordinary human being. We forget everything at that moment. And it's a new life cycle for us, okay? So we calculate that moment precisely. We know what energy you have, and that's where we start our calculations for the construction. So the soul vibration can be calculated according to these teachings and implemented in the construction. Because if you vibrate, the cosmos, the energy, the space everywhere vibrates. So the room where we are has its own inner space, and it's not only air, it's actually cosmic energy is here and it's vibrating. So if we calculate properly the house dimensions, we create resonance between the person who is sitting in this room, working or sleeping, living, yeah, or persons. And then also the earth energy is there and the cosmos formulas. So we evaluate each number and we find by the special ayadi calculations, energy calculations, perimeter of the building, height of the building, thickness of the walls, and of course the layout. Everything is calculated precisely. And then we plug it in the planet Earth, grid of energy of the planet, exactly with the lines of energy of the planet. Then we are in this stream of energy. So if we just basically position building parallel to the street, which is may not be aligned with the energy of the planet, then it's not going to work. We will be off the energy flow. So simply, we have to look at the cardinal directions. And actually, this area is aligned and the burned area was aligned too, which is interesting. You know who knew that? Freemasons. Freemasons knew these rules, not everything. And so they built accordingly, according to cardinal directions. And that's why Washington, D.C. is aligned. Baltimore, I'm from Baltimore, so most areas of Baltimore also aligned because they were designed by Masons. So they knew these rules. So whenever somebody's buying a house, sometimes they ask me, can you check it out if it's all good here? So I could look through Google Earth and I could give you some information on that. So we're sound and light, and our body organs vibrate with specific frequencies as well. So the scientists, they found if the person stands up, and they found that the vibration of entire body, it's about 10 hertz. So there are frequencies of the brain, of the spinal column, chest. I mean, each organ has its own frequency of vibration on the physical level. But what we do first, we will calculate your metaphysical, basically, vibration, and then it gives frequencies to the organs. So this is the structure of space according to the ancient teachings. It's a grid of energy. And so grid of energy is combined from the small tiny cubes of energy, and they have their name, paramanu, para, super, anu, atom. But it's not the atom as our scientists think. It's a different type of energy, which is invisible to human eye. So it's basically kind of like a light energy. So that light energy has a structure, and that light energy is nothing but consciousness. So we're dealing with consciousness. It's alive. That's why it is important to decorate house beautifully, aesthetically pleasing to the human eye, because we are divine beings and we know when it's something is off. We pick it up right away. We see sometimes people don't know what's wrong, but they know there is something wrong. And they know that because we actually, our eyes are scanners of our soul. So that's one organ, which is, you can, of course, there are some other senses we use, but it's the first one by looking at their anything, and we know when it's beautiful, when it's not beautiful. So this energy is constantly vibrating. So the cosmos is talking to us all the time. So we need to get into the unison, in the resonance with that frequency. Then we will be at peace. We will be healthier because we don't lose our energy in the sick building. And the sick building, if a building is built randomly without any knowledge of this, building can drain our energy because it needs energy. So we are sources as well of energy. So that's why sometimes we get very tired in the very beautiful environments. We don't know why, but because the energy is the house, is not properly constructed and calculated. So it's off the cosmic vibration, off the energy of the planet, and it drains us. But it takes years, of course. It's not like you go and you die there. Not, of course not. People just get sick over time, or they just get tired. Sometimes people get depressed and they don't know why. So we can explain why. So ideally it's simple construction. There is nothing actually sophisticated except the calculations. The rest is open floor plan, basically. So why I'm showing this? This is from the ancient teachings. And for example, there is a volume called Maya Matam and Manasara. It's 7 volumes of Manasara. It's precisely, basically collected all the scriptures. They are in printed form and translated into English. So you can find here, as you see, a table of measurement, how they used measurement system. So what they did, they used right hand, so middle finger of the right hand, a middle part of this phalange. It's called angula. So angula was the divine, basically measurement. Of course, everybody has slightly different angula, but there are 5 angulas, dimensions prescribed in ancient scripts, and they are based on classes of people. So Brahmins would have slightly longer. They were like, I guess, the holders of the knowledge, then the warriors, then the merchants, and it goes down to Shudra. So basically, this was a very important dimension. And we don't use our personal dimension, we use from the scripture. Why we would use not personal dimension? Because a lot of, for example, in Russia, people would use this dimension called, actually in Sanskrit, it's called kishku hasta. So if a man is building a hut for himself, yeah, he would just walk, either use this dimension or foot, like in England, yeah. So if you measure space by your own measurement, you're going to build a house which replicates your personal energy. But the key part here is not to replicate your own energy, because we have our own karmic stuff going on, right? So we want to get closer to the divine vibration. So these teachings, they teach you how to calculate your personal vibration with the space of the house where the energy resides. And the house is a linking, kind of linkage between person and cosmos. So we find dimensions which would allow to resonate energy with a person and with the cosmos. So then we have this beautiful space which is charging us with energy of earth, of cosmos, and goes into resonance with our personal energy. So if I would just take my own dimension and build, I'm just copying myself. So I'm not enhancing my vibration. I'm just who I am. And that's how it was done in many, in different cultures. So people would not know that. I mean, I think the knowledge was just lost because every culture has its own sacred knowledge, but some cultures lost it. And in India, they saved a lot of manuscripts and palm leaves, and so they're in libraries and get reprinted, rewritten. But the first knowledge was verbal. They would sing, and it was actually in poetic form. Why poetic form? Because rhythm. What is rhythm? It's rhythmic vibration of the sound. So when it's a poetic form, because it's coming from above, because it's a song basically of a cosmos. So all knowledge was in the poetic form, and then it was written in written language later. Okay, so that's just some books I quoted here, and it's the story is here about this dimension. So why it is so important for us? And so I'm just not going to go through all these slides because it may be a little tiring for you. But so they would connect also this dimension to, as you see, grains, different type of grains, even a hair. If you cut a hair and you slice it, so then the dimension of the hair is also here in the first calculations, because everything what we have in our body is grown by this divine energy. So that's why our dimensions actually are divine. We are divine beings, and we're in proportion to the cosmos. And I'm going to show you that. So they use grains. Of course, it could be slightly different grain, but in scriptures, they have very specific dimensions, like numbers. And so Paramanu, the super atom, is invisible to human eye. It's invisible to our modern equipment because it's beyond that dimension. It's very small. So we didn't get to that point yet. I think our science will catch up sometimes, but at this point, it's not found because it's on a different level of frequency. So it's called Paramanu. So 8 Paramanus multiplied in geometric progression. So this tiny little cube of energy, which is a unit of consciousness, multiplied 8 times because it's 8 vibrations go frequency, like 8 waves. So it pulses 8 times, creates a time unit. Then it vibrates 8 more times, creates a next time unit. That's how space gets constructed. So we need to plug in our house in the structure of the space. So it's kind of like a light bulb, you have to plug in the light bulb in order to get electricity. So we have to do the same with our house. We have to plug it in the cosmic system. Why do we care about planet Earth? Because we live on a planet Earth. So meridians and parallels actually according to the energy lines of the planet. So we look at that, not a magnetic compass, but geographic north, south, east, west. Yeah. So that is a grid of energy. And so we have to follow that energy movement, and Earth naturally already in the system of the cosmos, in the solar system, right? So it has its own trajectory, it has its own vibration, it bubbles a little bit like this. Basically, it's called precession. So it's rotates along its own line of the axis of rotation of the planet. And as you know, it also, the axis by itself slightly creates like an oval. Yeah, so it's called precession. So we have a lot of movements here. So that is set by cosmic vibration. So you know why you like to live next to the ocean? Because the sound of the waves, actually not because it's wind or some atmospheric, fluctuation of the pressure of the air, things like that. It does affect, but not as much as moon tides, right? Because the moon is a part of the solar system, and it has basically cosmic energy coming to the planet and sets everything into movement. So that's why we like ocean sound because it's resonates with the vibration of the cosmos. And it's our inner vibration as well. It's native vibration, but it's shifted a little bit at the moment of the birth. So that's why we like to be at the ocean, because it's healing, because it brings us back to normalcy, normal, good vibration. Okay, so multiplying from the tiny, tiny, tiny particle of energy of the structure of space, many times, 5 times actually, 5 levels. So 8 multiplied by 8, 8, 8. Then we take that dimension, we multiply that dimension 8 times again, and we repeat this 5 times. Why do we do it 5 times before we get to the angular? Because there are pancha bhutas, pancha, 5 bhuta, living energy. So that is ether or akasha, pure space. Then we have air, fire, water, and earth. So these 5 energy levels we have to pass in order to materialize on the earth. So earth is the heaviest element. So that's why we multiply so many times. So each dimension on each level corresponds to that frequency of that living energy of water, of space, of fire. So they have different frequencies. Altogether, it's earth, heavy Mother Earth, which gives growth to everything. So when we get to the point, the 5th level of increasing of the frequency of vibration slows down actually. So we get this dimension, and that dimension is our dimension, and it's in golden ratio to our hand. And this dimension is in golden ratio with your forehead. So that's beautiful. It's just this beautiful design is embedded in us because our universe is embedded with its own ratios, form, and proportions in our body. So that's why our body is not just random, like height and width, and we have special proportions, and they correspond to cosmic proportions of energy. So we are cosmic beings. So we want to use this unit of energy multiplied so many times according to the scripture in order to start building physical spaces. So we're using basically the unit of energy of the cosmos itself, the unit of consciousness. So our building is a conscious living being. That's why we can give a name. That's why it vibrates and it's happy, because it's connected through all the layers of existence. So that is the angula here, yeah? So that is the sacred dimension, and that's my company, and this is the proof. So here there is a video. I have a YouTube channel, and I have a more detailed explanation of this. But this gentleman, his name is he's Harald Buchner. He's from Austria. So in 2005, when I went to study from Ganapati Stapati, he came with his wife as well. His wife was an architect. She's an architect. And so he's a programmer. So we are still friends. It's so many years passed by. So he emailed to Ganapati Stapati. I think it was 2009. Yeah, 2009. He sent an email. He said, I don't know why, but I decided to take speed of light and divide into 2 and into 2 and then 2, 2, 2. Why in 2 is octaves. So he divided 33 times the speed of light. So the distance which light passes through 1 second. And it became angular. He found that it's equal to angular with some minor discrepancy, but it's like a huge distance, yeah, and divided on its so in the half and half and half 33 times, he found that's angular. That is fascinating. So what it means that the speed of light is in proportion to our angular, and our angular is in proportion to Paramana, to the unit of divine energy or consciousness. So that is fascinating. So it may not sink into you right now, but it took me a while. Honestly, I didn't understand in the beginning his email, and I had to ask him again to explain to me what he meant. And so he explained, and done on me years back, years later. So we are basically beings of light. We are beings of this divine energy, and we have it in our measurements of our body, this divine unit of energy. So that's why it is important to build houses which are measured by the same measurement. Then we will get into the structure of space. So that is very fine calculations, very intricate design. And I wish architects would know that, because then we would not build dead houses or sick houses, sick buildings. Yeah. And as I said, the tsunami did not destroy that monument, because Ganapati Stapati was telling me, because this energy, madam, he said, we calculated, and it's open. It should be open space, meaning your central part of the house should be open from any structural elements or bathrooms or laundry rooms. It should be open, because that's the heart of the house. So if we have like laundry room right in the center, I see like this houses, the house has no basically energy to breathe, because it's like blockage here. So that's why it's simple, actually, floor plan. And so and we know that according to cardinal directions, like for example, northeast, the energy of water is coming. It's like a divine water, but then it becomes physical water. Southeast, that's fire. So you don't want to place your bedroom in the fire zone. You want to have kitchen there. You want to sleep where the earth energy is, which is west. I'm sorry, southwest. That's your earth energy. So you want to sleep there. You don't want to sleep where the air is moving all the time, which is northeast, northwest, right? You don't want to be there, because you won't find peace. You would be moving all the time. So that's how we can evaluate people's houses or apartments, and even predict what may happen, because the energies are there, they're working all the time. And so they do affect us. And if we know this, then we will be at peace. We will go with the flow of energy, and we will sleep in the earth zone instead of fire zone, which will disturb us. Yeah. So what I did years later, I was thinking about this angula constantly, because it's such a divine dimension, right? I thought, why can't I do some experiments with angula? Because this is our energy which vibrated and built my dimensions, right? So I decided to take each person, whoever wants it, to measure the angula. And I decided to make a gift to Swami Sita, because the first presentation I did at Sivananda Yoga Farm in Grass Valley. So I thought, okay, I'm going to Swami Sita, and I'm going to surprise her. This time I surprise Swamiji here. We have also very interesting information. So the key part, what is happening here, I wanted to find your vibration and show it to you, your vibration in physical form. We know it's metaphysical, but how does it look like, right? So, and it dawned on me, so I'll tell you. So I asked Swami Sita, how big is your angula, her angula, not what the scripture prescribes, but what her angula is. That's her vibration, right? So she said it's 1 inch. Okay, so according to this teaching, there is a grid of energy which exists in the cosmos. It's called Vastu Purusha Mandala, precisely Manduka Mandala. Manduka is frog. We don't know exactly why Manduka, the name for this mandala of design. So each building has its own mandala. So 8 by 8 units of energy, which are calculated in these ayadi calculations. So your energy is there, house's energy is there, cosmic energy is there. So we find that unit of energy, and that's how we build a house. So if we divide the space into 8 units. One way, 8 units, other way. So we have 8 by 8 grid pattern. That's called Manduka mandala. It's considered as a divine energy, 8 by 8. When it vibrates and transforms from invisible into visible, that grid changes into 9 by 9. And it's called pranava. Pranava means nava is 9. So pra is actually spin. The energy is spinning. That's why Earth is spinning. Everything is spinning because that's their force of the thought. So we're spinning because we're thinking, okay? So everything is thinking because that's consciousness. So because I'm calculating divine vibration, so I multiplied 8 angulas, Swamisita, 8 times. So I received a plate 8 by 8. So I went to a specific shop and they cut for me metal plate. Some of you may know about Kladny patterns, right? So Kladny patterns, basically it's visualization of the sound structure. So sometimes people just show you like sinusoid and that's the sound. So actually it's not the structure of the sound, it's the amplitude and frequency there, but it's not the structure of the sound. Sound, physical sound is sphere. So this it's a spherical in form and it, like a bubble, it floats through space. And so if you cut and make a cross section of that sound, you may see it on the Kladny plate. So Kladny was this mathematician, musician, and so he discovered that, but rediscovered actually. So here, basically, I'm showing you this 8 by 8 metal plate with Swami Sita's angula, and I'm going to vibrate this. So this is the Ernst Kladny. He lived from 1756 to 1827. He was German. But before him, it was discovered 100 years before him, another scientist discovered, he rediscovered that. So this is scientific equipment I used. So I was in the beginning of my experiments and I made different plates, metal plates of different dimensions. And I found that 8 by 8 gave me the most beautiful, actually, frequent design. So I'm going to show you. So here we see this plate shows 1878 hertz. It's 4 by 4. It created this pattern of design. So what is this? It means that when this equipment, I have this basically electromagnetic wave goes through the wire and gets transformed into vibration, physical vibration of that frequency. And it passed by onto the plate, which is attached to this equipment vibration generator. So the plate start vibrating and at one frequency doesn't show me anything, but when it goes into resonance, it suddenly, the sand, the powder I have, it creates a beautiful pattern, which is called Kladny pattern. So what is that pattern? It's called standing waves. So the sound frequency went into the resonance with the plate itself. It's like a mini building. Just think about it. It's like a footprint of the building, square, yeah, for example. So that's what we do. We make sure that this frequency of vibration goes into resonance and creates standing waves. You have a beautiful design. So ancient temples of India built based on these frequencies, and it's yantra. Okay, so here, let's move forward. So this, I received like different frequencies. The plate would go into resonance and I would find the frequency which resonates with this specific dimension. So I picked the most beautiful one, as I thought, you know, just which is right here. It's a beautiful design. And so at frequency of 4,325 hertz, up to 27. So it gave me this resonant frequency and it created design. So if I click here, it's a video. Okay, so see basically That's how it appears. So when the plate goes into resonance, it creates pattern. That's called Chladni pattern. Okay. So, and that's why I can precisely find your frequency of vibration into the relation to your sacred dimension angula. There are several frequencies. So you can pick several of them, and I evaluated that later. But here for this lecture, I just picked one. And let me show you what happened here. Okay, so I need to get this. Wait, okay. Okay, so what I did, I evaluated different frequencies and I picked this one, which is, you know, very sophisticated with a beautiful pattern, and it's not kind of smudged, because when it's not exact, you know, you don't see the standing waves, it means it's in between frequencies. It still didn't hit the resonant point, yeah? So we need the resonance to have the beautiful pattern, mandala. That's Swami Sita's mandala or yantra, if you want, her personal yantra, yeah? So if I divide by 2, so I would just go lower in octave, and I would get to, for example, from 4025 hertz, I got to 541 hertz. Why did I do it? Because I wanted to find what healing color belongs to this frequency. It was another gentleman, he lived in New York in 1930s, Din Shah. So he was electrical engineer and he taught spectrochrome theory. So he would teach American doctors how to expose human body based on specific disease to a specific light frequency, colored light. And so he tuned his theory up to that point that he could just up to like hundreds of hertz say, okay, this frequency will heal this disease. And for example, I was a couple days ago, yeah, yesterday also at the expo in Los Angeles at this life conscious expo, and one woman was talking about similar things, and I was like, oh my God, she was showing photographs from the book of Din Shah, where a little girl in Philadelphia, it's a Philadelphia hospital, was for children, Kate Bide, her name was Dr. Kate Byron, I think. So she would take patients, it was 1940s, because it was becoming popular, but it was shut down by FDA. And they burned all archives of this guy and they put him to prison. And when he was released, he passed away. So he designed this, basically developed a system. He was initiated in the Sacred Order of Madame Blavatsky Theosophical Society, and then it opened up for him this knowledge. So he was bringing this very interesting knowledge. They still sell this equipment, you can buy from them. His son is alive. And so what I was doing here, I was looking for frequencies which would be very close to this frequency, which I found from this resonant frequency of Swami Sita. And I would say, okay, I said, this color, for example, turquoise or green, is pretty close. So it means she is connected to that frequency of vibration of that color. So it's healing for her because it's her resonant pattern. It resonates with her dimensions. So I checked her nakshatra then. I decided, okay, so I checked the physical part of Swami Sita. Now I want to check her metaphysical, means her astrological part, yeah? And so I found her nakshatra. I found when, in which pada, or it's a 1/4 of their angle. Basically, what is nakshatra? It is physical angle of 13 degrees, 0.3 in the sky. At the moment of her birth, the moon was passing by, and the moon was kind of like a navigator to find out what is behind the moon, what constellation is there. So that energy was coming to the planet Earth, overlapping moon, and hitting whoever was there at that point on the planet Earth with that specific frequency. That is nakshatra. Okay, so we can find the sound of your soul if you wish. Okay, so I checked that part. And I found interesting correlation. So the correlation, I used ChatGPT. Of course, ChatGPT has to be checked and checked many more times, but it's just experimental study at this point. So I was looking what the frequency would be with that nakshatra or that sound, because in ancient books, it says that each frequency coming from the sky, from the space, corresponds to Sanskrit letter, because Sanskrit is a vibration of the cosmos, okay? So they could identify vibration coming from that specific point of angle of their cosmic constellation, and specify, divide it into 4 parts, and each part would have a Sanskrit letter. So there are 27 nakshatras or constellations, each divided into 4, so 27 by 4, 108. This is your sacred number, okay? So that's how many frequencies we have. And so we take them and use them in the calculation. So I found Swami Sita's vibration, I found her frequency, physical frequency, resonant frequency, and I found that actually she is resonating. Her metaphysical frequency associated with turquoise color is same as her physical vibration coming from Angula with frequencies I found. So her astrological and physical frequencies kind of met at one point, and it means you can say she's following her dharma, because physical and metaphysical, she is like right on target. And if you use design, there is interior designers use a color wheel. So color wheel has different colors, and there is a theory which is proved that if you take a color on the color wheel and the opposite color is called complementary color. So if you mix them together, they create gray. So it's total like balance. So I'll show you. So basically here, what I was doing, I was like, okay, her turquoise color is coming from the physical pattern I found through through Kladny patterns, and it's turquoise color is her healing color. So I was looking for a musical note which would associate closely, and so with that frequency, so the green color is 1.5 hertz, musical note is 5 C, sharp 523 hertz. So 565 is a turquoise color, basically, in hertz, and the 554 hertz, that's C sharp, and the 523 is C. So I was playing with that. So what is her music? What music does she have? So we can also listen to that, but so I'm just going to move forward. Okay. So I basically connected musical notes, colors with the frequency of vibration of Swami Sita Angula. So I found all that, and it's considered as a healing color for her and healing sound. The color by itself penetrates skin deeper than the sound. Sound is definitely affects us. Everybody knows that. But the spectrochrome theory is based on basically exposing our body to colored light. So it goes deeper into our skin and heals us. So sound as well, but it's more effective with colors. So think about this now. So the color frequency is higher than basically the sound frequencies at some point, and the divine frequency, the frequency of the cosmos is so high. That's why we cannot hear. Only in deep meditation, people can hear sounds of the cosmos, like yogis, advanced yogis, they could hear that. They say angelic voices, it's just basically the vibration of universe. We can hear that when we're in advanced state of meditation. So what I'm trying to explain here, that through these experiments, I can find your frequency of vibration, which is resonant frequency of vibration by using your angular. I can find a musical note, which will basically explains who you are, and a healing color, which is your color. And if you're exposed to that, basically you bring yourself back to balance, because it's your inner kind of dimensions, exhibited in the exterior dimensions. So that's your frequency. And so Vaastu Shastra is all about that, frequencies of sounds, which we cannot hear because it's very high frequency of, and merging our human body with our inner energy, with cosmic energy. That's the key. That's all it is. So that's why we get charged in these buildings, and the buildings themselves are also in connection with divine frequency. So they're very healthy environments for us to be, and they're very strong because everything there is interconnected with the very native structure of cosmos, of consciousness. So we're aligned with divine consciousness. So we're at peace, actually. When we're aligned, we are at peace. So it's just some here. Basically, I was just trying to find out what the scientists are saying about constellations, what to our astronomy is known, what the colors are, stars in this specific calculations. And so it's very interesting because the astrology by itself is astronomy, but from their spiritual point of view. It's a spiritual astronomy where we take into consideration relationships of their planets, constellations, because we know they are alive, they emit energy, and that energy is their consciousness, nothing else. So when this consciousness is aligned, it resonates like a music, but it can be it can be in dissonance. So the sick buildings are in dissonance with the environment. Healthy buildings are in resonance with the environmental frequencies. That's the key. That's it. So that's the very essence of these teachings, to build houses which are resonating with nature. And nature is divine. And we're divine. All we do, we build houses. It's not the nature who built. We could live under the tree. That's where the ancient gurus would sit, under the banyan tree and teach the class. You don't have to pay mortgage, Swamiji, right? We were thinking about this. No insurance, nothing. No internet. You just sit here. Your internet is cosmos. That's it. So we download. A tree is actually a router. Okay. Tree is basically connect to the earth and to the cosmos. And so that's why when we sit with our backs to big trees, we get connected. That's how people get healed. So that's why it's in our hands to build a proper house, because we do it. And so if we know this knowledge, we implement, we do it right. And that's what ancient seers, they knew that the knowledge was downloaded during deep meditations, this Vedic knowledge. That's why we should cherish that and start rebuilding LA according to these ancient teachings. Then the fire will not even happen, because every energy of nature will be aligned with nature. Maybe it will not be even like, droughts, because we disturb space by building improper structures. We create disturbances. That's why we have disasters, because we're not resonating with the nature itself. So this is a complementary colors I mentioned. So the Swami Sita So her inner color I found was turquoise, and the opposite color on the color wheel is orange, and she's wearing orange. She's swimming. So I was like, Swami, this is incredible. It's just incredible. This is it. So she does follow her dharma. So that's it. So then I calculated my husband. I was like, okay, let me check him out. Checked myself, my daughter, and now I'm taking orders. People, if somebody wants, I charge only for basically making these plates and the time I used for experiments. So I can find your vibratory patterns, your healing colors, and your musical note of your body, of your inner being. And so that is just experiment. And why I do it? Because I want to find algorithm. There is an algorithm to that, and possibly to see the structure and interconnectedness between colors, music, human beings, and different frequencies of people and houses. So to build also interiors with these colors, which will benefit to a group of people, which resonates with this color, with this sound. So to create environments, healing environments. So that's why I call my company, my slogan is healing through design. So if somebody's interested, I have this book. It's in the yoga center here. It's called Illustrated Vaastu Shastra, or Your Happy House. It's just very simple here, but it's very deep knowledge. Everything is illustrated and for easy to understand the essence of these teachings for the beginners. So Om Shanti, thank you so much. So we'll stop here. And yeah, so how do we stop sharing? Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here and listening to this lecture. And I hope anybody has questions.
Yes, I do.
Uh-huh.
The statue that you were talking about first looked like the Statue of Liberty in New York.
Yes, it does look like. Can we have a little sound, a little stronger sound, because I can't hear very well. Where's your? I just want to a little bit louder so I could hear you. Okay, it's not my computer.
Oh. Right,
Okay.
there.
Okay, cool. All right. Yeah. So you basically you asked, because if there are people here, I want to repeat your question. So you said that the statue of Tiruvalluvar monument looks like a little bit like Statue of Liberty, right? It does. And they call their Indian Statue of Liberty. So that is an ancient poet, yeah. But I bet, well, Statue of Liberty also has an opening inside. The staircase, we go into the head. So it's great.
I've been there. I've been inside.
Yeah, me too. And maybe Masons knew that. Maybe they also used some laws of design embedded in the Statue of Liberty. I don't know, actually. I never looked at that.
I was just wondering about that.
Yeah, because it's a symbol of freedom of America. And that's pretty strong because, yeah, it has, you're right. It has this open structure inside, open to basically open space. That's energy, that's cosmos. So that's divine vibration. So that's why America is still strong, and hopefully it will withstand anybody who is trying to shake their democracy here. It's not going to happen. Anyway, yeah, well, thank you for this note. You're right. Yeah. Anything else? So come to the yoga center. See, this is my book. So I donated to beautiful people here. So if you could take a look, see, you might be interested. It's very fascinating, ancient teachings. And a lot of people don't know. Most people know about feng shui, and feng shui is, I believe that feng shui actually has roots in Vaastu Shastra, because I studied for 20 years ancient scriptures of India. And for example, there is about Surya temple. There is a Surya temple in Odisha, and so there is a yantra embedded in the temple, and they don't know exactly who built this temple in India, but they have palm leaves and they have descriptions of Chinese travelers who were at that time describing this temple. So people from China were traveling in India and learning, I think, from Ayurveda and from Vaastu Shastra. And you know, it went to different countries and they evolved in their own energy teachings, because feng shui is also about energy, but it evolved in its own way. So it's more kind of interior design parts, but Vastu Shastra is more about architecture. But we can, as a designer, I can definitely look at people's spaces and suggest based on the energies of the space where it's best to have your desk to work. Actually, this book has a lot of information about that, and how to sleep, which direction you should put your head, because even Swami Shivananda, he was not talking about Vastu Shastra, he was a doctor, but he mentioned in his booklet called How to Get Sound Sleep, and explained why you should not sleep toward north with your head, because you lose energy. So when we design space, we take that into consideration. We suggest people not to sit under the beams. You know, it's very beautiful, like two-door houses, they have this exposed beams. And if you sleep under the beam, it cuts you through. So you have to really look where you are, how your environment is, before you spend a lot of time in the house. It's best to know about the best location for sleeping, for cooking, or home office, or relaxation. So it has its own energy zones. So that is called Paramasaika mandala. So mandala is a grid of energy. And so each part of the mandala has its own energy and it affects us. It's a structure of space. So if we sit in the energy where the fire is, you know, it's good to cook, but it's not good to sleep because you will be in the fire. So you will be irritated. And that's why we, you know, argue sometimes. We don't know why, but you get irritated. Maybe because you sleep in the fire zone all the time. Or maybe you're constantly moving and you can't sit in your house quietly. You have to run everywhere, catch up this or that, because maybe you're in the air zone and air is moving. So things like that. So
And what would you think about, you know, what is done to correct houses which are not fully aligned with Vastu, which, by the way, I guess are the vast majority of houses? You know, you see that some people speak about Vastu and let's say that you can correct things with yantras and things like that. Do you have
can
any
you
view on
introduce
this?
yourself? Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sorry, I'm Antoine from Luxembourg.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I've just
yeah.
read a little bit about, well, I read your book and a little bit about Vastu, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
I see that very different techniques are provided in the name
Yes.
of Vastu, you know. So
Yes.
some, I mean, some
Yeah,
are
you have a
very
very good
different.
question. It's a very good question because 90% is already built, right? But if you look at some houses, some old construction, a lot of places are actually built according to these teachings, with knowledge or without knowledge. Ancient Greeks and Romans, they knew that. So they would build actually accordingly. And if you check their sites, and so, but when it's not according to these teachings, you cannot rotate building with yantra. You cannot. It's done. And some pandits in India, they say you can. But my guru said it's impossible. And I mentioned that in my letter to you. And thank you so much for being here, because I know it's very early for you in France. Yeah. So yeah, so what I would say, I don't want to insult any pandit, whatever they do. If it helps people, it's great. But thinking about it deeply, because that was my first question when I came to India, because a lot of houses are built. So Ganapati Stapati told me, and I emailed you, yeah. So madam, he said, but for those who doesn't know, he said, if you don't have your arm, and I'm going to give you a beautiful earring, you put it in like a yantra, yeah. Would you have your arm? He said, no, you won't. So this is the same with the building. So if the building, what I do usually, I ask people, give me your floor plan, give me your address, because I could look on Google Earth and see what is happening. Because even a street alignment, if your house is hit by a street, like a T intersection, it's not good for in Vaastu Shastra to have your house to be hit by a street, because all the energy of cars and movement going through your house, so you don't have peace. So we'll look at that. Yeah. So what you can do, you can plant more trees in front of your house, but you don't plant a tree in front of your door because you will block the energy, for example, right? If you have a column which supports the, ceiling somewhere, or you have a wall which is crossing the heart of the building, Brahmastan. So what we do, we open that and have a beam and two columns outside of the Brahmastan area, which is a central part of the building. Yeah. So there are some different structural changes, fixes to the building. But if I will just have a column and I put a yantra or icon on this column, it's not going to remove this column. It's still blocking the area where the building is supposed to breathe. Yeah. So placing windows where they're supposed to be if possible, using another door instead of the door where people use. Sometimes most of us, we park the car, go through the garage door and go inside of the building, right? But usually it's best to enter building from the front door. Yes, sometimes it's cold, people don't want to go outside, but so you go through back into your house. But so things like that, decoration even of the front door is important. So fixes can be done by structurally or some minor modifications. That will definitely work, and you will feel it right away. And I have people in Austria who found me, and they saved money. They took the engineer because I gave them suggestions how to fix the place. So they said finally they opened up and removed a partially wall where the Brahmastan, the central part of the building, is, and they said they felt much better. Because you're opening up. Of course, if we have so many dividers inside, irregular kind of the angles of the wall, sometimes they are not even under 90 degrees. Because by the way, the cube of energy of consciousness is cube with 90-degree angles. Simple. That's why houses should be built with 90-degree angles. If we somehow build some weird angles, I found in England a lot of houses like this, because they built them so close based on the shape of the property. So I think it affects your mind because it's really crooked. So your mind is crooked because your mind is energy. So that's why we need to make it simple. 90 degrees, open space, open floor plan is the best. Light. We don't put windows at the corners because you lose energy. People say, oh, but still, my store is working. I saw in Baltimore, for example, where I live here, a lot of corner buildings in a row, they have cut off their corner of the building, and that's the entrance. And so they said, oh, my shop is still working. But I would say, hey, your shop could be working even better if you would have a door from another side and you just close this, and your building will not lose energy. That's why we have a skin, because we have a cover. We have to keep the energy inside. Buildings' walls are the cover, the skin of the building. We have orifices at specific locations, right, connected to organs. Building has the same. It has its own organs. So we have to open doors and windows in the specific places so the energy could move in and out to breathe. So things like that. So this, I would say, spiritual structure should be implemented in the physical structure. So when it's all in correlation, then it's breathing. That's why we are alive, because we're designed accordingly and we function. Our energy is moving us. So house has to have a moving energy inside. It could not have a stagnancy. If we put as I said, toilet in the heart of the building, we're polluting the very sacred part of it. Yeah, so we have to remove it. Some people say, we'll put yantra there above toilet. Yeah, well, I'm sorry, but we're insulting yantra. Because as you saw, yantra is actually a vibratory mechanism. So when I was showing the simple Chladni pattern, it's nothing but yantra of that sound. So that's why Tantra is mantra and yantra. So when we chant, produce specific sounds, they create yantra. So it's interconnected. That, you know, it took me 20 years to understand that, maybe many lifetimes. But now I started connecting the dots. And I can explain, you know, why this would work in simple words. Actually, by the way, you can download this book on Amazon for nothing almost. So it's a digital format. So I just wanted to introduce to people this science. And I know in Europe is more popular, Eastern Europe, I mean, they're all practicing it there. But a lot of pundits coming and they use some different things and they say it works. Maybe it works, but I think it works on the level of a mind. So if it's like placebo, but it works. Okay, that's fine. If it works, that's fine. But I was told by my guru that first you need to fix the physical part, physically building, then definitely we know it's going to work. It's like somebody broke an arm, right? We have to put cast here in order to fix it so it will grow properly. So the same with the building. We have to do proper modifications to make it breathe, to be alive, and then we can do some other things and put like deities here, you know, portraits, some specific artwork. It's also important because it is energy. But yantra is a very sacred mechanism, so we can't just put it on the wall and that's it. Because the yantra has to be worshipped with proper Sanskrit pronunciation. Then it will start working. And we're connecting with that, yeah. So plus we have to be you know, yogis and, you know, purify the body, don't eat meat and things like that. So it's a very fine science. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming that early. I appreciate your emails. And I was thinking about you. I was like, oh my God, I emailed because I was rushing. I couldn't reply on your email because I was coming here. So I do have online a lot of videos on my YouTube, and I will produce more, and I'm learning through, I guess, my lectures, how to bring this in a simpler way, and maybe sometimes in more entertaining way, because people get tired when you get all this information. So that's why I thought about this angula and finding this vibration of a person. I think it's very fascinating, and it's scientific as well. So we can connect invisible and make it visible. So yeah, if you guys have questions, you're welcome to email Swamiji. She can connect with me. And so, yeah.
May I ask you another question? Or?
Sure, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah.
In book, it's written. So there is a rule in the Vaastu Shastra. If the house is under 45 degrees to cardinal directions, it's called Vedic. It's prohibited.
Yes.
And there is no way to fix it. You have to move out, unfortunately. Yeah, and that's why people feel sick there, you know, just, or no peace, or they fight all the time because it's moving. But if it's like 15 degrees, yeah, it's not 45 degrees. So basically it's all kind of proportionally you could identify. But if it's 45 degrees, you can't even identify what is what. I know some people say, oh yeah, we will review what is the Vastu Purusha of the earth. So what they, a lot of people do, and they argue all the time, but I'm not going into these arguments. I just have my own opinion based on what I learned. So if the house is on 45 degrees, we cannot identify properties. Where is water? What is a fire? Because it's shifted. Then some practitioners, what they do, they say, no, north is here, east is here, so that is water. Yes, that's for the earth, not for the house. And the proof is, I say, look, house is like a body. If I move myself this way, I'm facing east, then I know I'm facing east. That's my body's facing. And the house is the same. If you move your house, it moves with energy on side of a house also moves. So I moved, my energy moved. All my organs are facing now this direction or that direction, and house is the same. It's not like imprinted to the earth, and whatever earth energy is, the house is has the same energy. Yes, house has its own energy. And if it's rotated to compare it to earthly energy, it's not aligned. That's the problem. That's why they say you cannot build like this. So that's why you have to view the floor plan of the house itself, not of the earth. Yes, you have to have pointers to cardinal directions. That's how you have to view it. So house is a living organism. If the builder built it improperly, big mistake. What can we do? That's why we need to learn this. And you know, in ancient Upanishads, it says, it's it's a huge long name. I forgot now that book. It's two volumes, but I found a shloka. It says, if the architect is practicing these teachings, this theory, without practical knowledge of construction, he has to be killed. Yeah, if he practices with practical knowledge, but without knowledge of scripture, so doesn't know well, he has to be killed. Not an arm, I mean, killed, period. I was like, okay, well, a lot of architects and builders should be out. But it happens because we don't remember this anymore. And why they would say this in such a strict way that a person has to be killed, because they say if you build improperly, you affect generation after generation who lives in this house. And about city, it's even worse. City planners have incredible responsibility of the design of the city. So that's why it could be crime after crime and economical dysfunctioning of the city because it's not aligned. That's unfortunate. That's why it's Kali Yuga. And I think you're here, all of you, because we're all awakening. We want to know the truth. What's wrong? Why? Why we have no peace. So we're searching, and this knowledge gives a lot of actually answers on our questions. It helped me spiritually, actually. So not only on the level of professional, but also spiritual, because it forced me to learn Vedanta because I didn't understand the terminology. So I had to learn. And my teacher brought me to Sivananda Ashram. That's how I connected. So everything is like in a beautiful way. So yeah, there are some fixes. We can do things. If you think about decorating your house, I suggest do not put disturbant artwork. Some artists, they could be depressed and they paint a lot of depressing images. So even if they are super famous, I would not do it. The best thing is, something which makes you happy, nature, photographs or prints, artwork. Of course, the best is when it's painted originals, yeah, because the artist puts its own energy, but it should be happy, because if it's happy, it emanates happiness. But if somebody is sad, yes, I mean, it's good for the museum, but not for your room. Okay? If you're in your bedroom, you have some image, it will affect you when you sleep. It will affect you because that image has its own energy in it. Edgar Poe, I mean, he had this story about the guy coming out from the portrait, yeah? It's a scary story. So a portrait, I think it's called portrait, yeah. So it's just there, all these energies, and they affect us. And so when we know how it works, then we can help each other. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody.